Make some noise. Cool. I'm gonna do a quick temperature check. I wanna see who's in the room. I love South African alternative music, especially when? Yeah, I saw some people got it wrong. But also, welcome home. If it's your first time here, we love South African alternative music, especially when? Yeah, so this is your weekly touch-up. My name is Mbali Mashaba. I'm your host. My team is right in front of me. I've got Anita. Make some noise for Anita. Make some noise for L the Third. Make some noise for MK. And then there's a gentleman who's gonna walk in, possibly wearing shorts. You know, you'll know who it is when you see him, just, even if it's an hour later, clap for him like, yeah, you know, he's a member of the team. And then you'll see some of our team on sound. If you see somebody holding a cable, just show them some love or just hand them a drink for the good work. We do this every single Wednesday. We love South African alternative music, especially when? And then over the last 5 months or 6, I don't know at this point, we introduced such an incredible opportunity through these conversations we started having, our Let's Touch Base panel, where we get people who know a little bit more than we do about this thing of ours, and just some perspectives outside of music that can help us be better about music. Right, so tonight is another special conversation that's going to be had, right? And it's something that I, in my own personal capacity as an artist, am excited about because, this is something I'm struggling to break into in my own capacity. So if all of you are here for the same reason I am, let's lock in, right? So let me tell you what tonight's conversation is about, right? Got something cute written here. From building relationships with supervisors and understanding what producers listen for to creating sync-ready songs and avoiding common missteps. This conversation equips musicians with the practical knowledge they need to break into on-screen opportunities and navigate one of the most valuable revenue streams in today's industry. Right? I hope you guys know what your other income streams are as musicians. You know, I'll have to revisit that. But this one is important because unlike the others, this one, isn't in your control fully. If you want to release music, you can. Produce merchandise, you can. As far as radio, if you nag enough, if you're patient enough with radio, you can. But this particular one, I think I hate this, it's gate kept for a reason because there's a lot of money to be made. Maybe there isn't. Our experts will let us know. But if there is, please let us know, right? And be honest. So I want to bring on our experts for this evening. This first expert is an award-winning executive producer and head writer known for crafting powerful stories and leading creative teams across film and television. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, make some noise for Sihle Mthembu. Yes. All right. Our second panelist is a dynamic filmmaker and director whose work blends strong visual storytelling with a sharp understanding of how music elevates emotion on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, make some noise for Mbali Mashaba. Our third panelist is a music publisher and artist manager dedicated to protecting creators' rights and placing African music in global film and TV spaces. Make some noise for Andile Magwaza. And then last by we have a legendary music producer and composer behind multi-platinum hits and iconic TV music with over 30 years shaping South Africa's sound. Make some noise for Mjakes Thebe. This is our Let's Touch Base panel of experts. Make some noise for them. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. All right. I'm excited. Again, I have my own personal gain from this conversation. I had an opportunity to sit or catch Mbali on a panel about a week ago. That's when I made the decision that, yo, dude, we need this level of expertise in our conversation. And, you know, you've been here before, right? Well, we're Barbara, right? Okay, cool, just checking. Whew, that was close. So yeah, I'll start with you then. I'll start with you. Tell me, as a filmmaker, you build entire emotional worlds through sound and story. What qualities make a song instantly usable in a scene? And what are some common reasons tracks don't make a final cut, even if they're good songs? Thoughts? I think we're live, that's it?
No.
I lied. Oh, maybe?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so music is really important. It really can be like a make or break for a film. And, you know, in the commercial space, it's hundreds and thousands of rands that are invested into the music that they use for commercials. It's the difference between a director getting like a particular job and not.
Wow.
So for me, music is about emotion. It's about a feeling that I want to convey without saying the words. And it drives the narrative forward. It gives people insights about my character, what my character is feeling, what they're going through. But it's also a cultural specificity. So if I'm making a particular film, the kind of music that I use, if you're watching it from a different part of the world, you'll be able to tell which region in the world this is from. So it's the way that I stand out in film festivals and global networks. But it's also about identity. And the way that I actually make decisions about the kind of music I use in my films is if a song has the ability to carry a particular emotion or the nuances of a character. But I also typically work with musicians who make music that is storytelling driven. So they are like lyrically and through particular instruments and keys telling a story. So a practical example of this is my last film was called Umlindelo, and I worked with a young artist, Kozo Zwane. And I said to Kozo, like, hey, I explained the feeling that I wanted to convey, and then I sent him a reference, and then I just let him run with it. So he did different renditions. He worked with bands and choirs and all these things, and then he found the feeling. He translated the feeling for me, and that's not specific to like a genre. Another example is like, I have a film coming out next week. It's a comedy. Thank you. It's called I Think I Should Say Something. And the soundtrack, the main soundtrack of the film is a musical skit. And it's like, there's this comedian that I know who helped me work on the project, and she like releases these funny skits on Instagram, but they are like music. And then she shoots like music videos around them, and she's got like choreography, and it's like super parody, dramatic. And there's like a song that's called like No Worries If Not, and it's like about a girl who's like a people pleaser. And that's exactly my character. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what my character is doing, you know? And she tells stories all the time, but she creates like skits that are music, which is like really interesting. So it's like the storytelling, the emotion, and like the cultural specificity.
Make some noise for that, please. Yeah. I think in your answer, you've put me in a place as an artist where I'm almost forced to think beyond my expression, right? Where it's not just about maybe expressing myself as a musician. Now, if I'm thinking about storytelling with more intention, I get to have conversations with people like you, right? And then you too, Mr. Mthembu, if you don't mind me calling you that. I think both of you, I think in just your capacities, make use of music with intention. You know, what Mbali spoke about is like, you know, how it sets a tone. I think you do that as well, but your question is, like, as a writer, you know, I imagine you write a character and you kind of have a soundtrack in mind for each character. So I'd like to know a little bit more about, like, you know, when world building as a head writer, right? What role does music play in shaping character, tone, and identity? Thoughts?
Hi guys. Look, music is important. I mean, on LinkedIn, I kind of started this series where I would give like a playlist of the albums that I was listening to while I was writing a particular show. So for instance, but also I think it was an interesting exercise for me to sort of track my creative process around writing. So for instance, I found that when I was writing Ushaga, I wasn't listening to traditional music, I was listening to a lot of rock. And that's why you feel the energy of that show is like quite propulsive, right? So music is like a very important part in terms of creating characterization. I mean, even recently there was a pitch that I was working on, and I spent a lot of time trying to think like, what is a song that could embody the tone of the story, so that even if you don't necessarily understand, you know, the direction of the story and where it's going, maybe you don't even relate to the characters, but if you relate to the feeling of the song, then you might be able to, you know, to gravitate towards the work, right? But music is so important. I mean, even at pitch level, right? You know, when you're submitting a show to multi-choice, for instance, as an example, they'll ask you to give musical references. Of if I'm just sitting at home, I'm not watching the TV, I'm hearing this show in the background, what am I hearing? What is the soundtrack of the show? What is the feeling? What is the mood of the show? So those things are quite important. And a lot of the shows that we create now, you'll have that, like where you'll have, for instance, I worked on the season 1, 2, and 3 of Adulting. That was always like the thing at the beginning of each season, like, because we had these 4 guys that were friends. Where is this character in their life journey, and how do we embody that through their particular song? And it's quite an important thing to know, right? Because sometimes I need to brief Mbali, who's a director who's coming to direct my show, to say, this is what I want the show to feel like. So even as she's making her creative decisions and picking music, she knows exactly, she's able to translate the vision that I had when I was pitching and when I was writing, through sort of the music as well. And sometimes you even brief musicians. You and I actually had an experience. So Luansta, I created a sitcom, and he basically wrote like the score of the show and the theme song of the show. And I imagine it was a very frustrating process, because I was like, I just want something nostalgic that felt 90s, but in a South African context, right? And you know, that back and forth for me, I learned a lot from that as well, because it was like, I need to be able to translate my vision to every kind of creative that I'm working with. And I think that's always the challenging part, because sometimes you live with characters, you know them, you know the world that they embody, but you need to be able to give that to someone else so that they can do their job. And I think that's always something that I've become more and more conscious of.
Thank you for that. Make some noise for that. You mentioned 2 things that are going to determine who I give the next question to, but I like the word soundtrack. And the fact that you were listening to albums prior to, I guess, while you were writing, it makes me think of the original soundtrack. You know, you'll find like, I don't know if it's something that's still happening popularly, like, you know, when a movie comes out and then there's okay, cool. If it still happens, great, you know, then one must obviously think about their publishing, right? Because now you've been commissioned, I imagine, to make this original soundtrack for this project. And then we get into now what it means to protect yourself in that context. So I'll pass it to you, Andile. Tell me, what does sync ready actually mean from a publishing perspective, like paperwork, rights clearance, all those things?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So when we use the term sync ready, it's mostly just in terms of how, one, your paperwork is set up in terms of the music that you are pitching. So when I say paperwork, in music it's usually what we call metadata. So you need to know who are the people that you worked with on the song, You need to credit them for their contributions, and then most of the time, I think everyone being a musician, you know about split sheets. So split sheets even work as far as when you are pitching for film and TV, because if there's any uncertainty on who owns what, usually that song will not move forward. So I think the first thing that everyone in this room, I'll ask them to do is just make sure you have that on lock, where your splits are done. And then also in a case where you are working with multiple people. So I think one of the things that we had spoken about earlier with Sihle was how fast-paced the industry is, especially when the music is required. So what most people do to be ready is, let's say there is 3 of us working on a song. We finish it, we love it, we want to go and pitch it. There's a document called a one-stop form. So what a one-stop form means, everyone who's worked on that song is kind of acknowledging that they do own various shares, whether it's master and publishing, but then everyone is allowing each person to pitch, and should something land, that person who has pitched is speaking on everyone's behalf. So what it stops is, because in most cases when, in most cases when a song has been identified, they literally have to phone and confirm with every right holder. So if they are battling to find the right holder, then that song is not moving forward. But if you have a one-stop and they phone you, and you're like, I know guys, this song you can use, I've got a one-stop, I can send it through as confirmation that everyone else that worked on the song, all their splits are showing, all their details are there, but over and above that, they've kind of pre-cleared the songs for any sync opportunities that come. So I think with just those 2 fronts in the admin side, you're already way ahead of many people in the industry. And then lastly, in terms of the music itself, depending on how you've been approached, because there are cases where, as you mentioned, it's a commissioned project where someone is literally briefing you. But sometimes you find that as an artist, you are making the initial approach where you don't really know what this person is currently working on, but you want them to be aware of your music. So when it comes to the songwriting, there's a trick that most people use which helps them get ahead, which is when you write lyrics, try and steer away from being specific, meaning don't write a song about Joburg specifically, write a song about a city. So if there's a production happening in Durban, Cape Town, PE, wherever, your song can apply, because it's talking about a vibe, a feel, a city vibe, not a Joburg, because only a production that's focused in Joburg may need a Joburg song. And then secondly, when you have done your song, make sure you get your lyrics. The reason why the lyrics are important, when music supervisors, editors, or anyone who needs music, they usually go and search for music. And some of the softwares that we use, they analyze the songs. So they will analyze the texture, instruments, and even go as far as the lyrics. So within the lyrics, they will pick up, oh, this song is actually speaking about this subject that you are looking for. So make sure you have your lyrics. As much as sometimes you might be a producer and you're working with a vocalist, you didn't write the lyrics. When you are finalizing your project, it must be one of the deliverables that the vocalist or whoever you've worked with must send you the lyrics, because literally all the songs you submit must have lyrics, because you can't assume everyone understands the lingo in your song. Because there might be terms where someone is like, I like this song, but I'm not sure if this word is actually a swear word or is actually appropriate. So because I don't understand, I'm going to skip it. But if you provide the lyrics, people can actually go and research. Like, oh, there's the word, what does it mean? Because it might be a vernac word, or it might be a word that's slang, where certain areas may not know it. So I think without going too far, with just those 4 things, which is splits, try get a one-stop if you're working with more than one person in a song. In terms of lyrics, don't be specific. Also, if you're writing about love, make it platonic instead of relationship. Because sometimes you get more opportunities if it's a platonic relationship, because you're not trying to gun for romantic movies, but then it can be a song, a movie about brotherhood, you're still in there, sisterhood, you are in there, mother-father type of relationship, you are there. So you kind of stretching your possibilities of landing your songs. And then, yeah, just try and do those. And I think you are already sync ready and you are ahead of most people that might get past when songs have been looked for.
Oh, thank you, Putu. That was incredible. I think something I heard is that admin can make or break the opportunity to get the music there. If there's no one-stop shop, especially based on how quick, the industry is, as you said. If it's so hard to clear...
Can I say something
yes,
to that?
Yes,
so I worked for 2 years producing a daily lifestyle show with the music elements at the end. And literally you would get submissions for music videos, artists that want to come and perform. And the decision was always based on who has their cue sheet information, because at the end of the month, I need to submit that to ETV. ETV needs to know who they need to pay. And I don't want to waste an hour trying to find if by Luansta's publishing and information is correct. I have a 3-hour show to produce. I'm just looking at the people that you sent your video or you sent your request. Okay, I know you have all of this information. I can then just send it off to the people that need to fill it out. So that, it's quite a crucial thing. If you have that information, you're making someone else's job easier, and people love that.
I realize we've actually worked in multiple capacities. The recent one with creating the title music for Rumi's was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, because I've always envisioned that, my music that I've written for myself is what's going to get played in films. So creating music specifically for films was something new to me, but not new to you, sir, at all. You've got over 30 years of experience working on music specifically for audiovisual media, right? So I want to ask you a question. You've created title sequences and jingles for major TV shows and channels. What makes a piece of music work for a title sequence specifically, and what can artists learn from that when creating sync-driven music?
The first thing is that you must imagine your audience. It's mostly about the audience and who's gonna be listening to that. Even creatively in studio, even if what we used to do. I remember myself and Robbie Malenga, we used to be business partners. When we'd make a song, first of all we'd imagine who will be listening to the song. Before you even release a song, you would never do an up-tempo song and say, but you know that if you're gonna speak about a topic, a subject, then the music must also be appropriate. So what would happen would be, I would probably start with creating the music, and then they would ask me, let's say we're working with Robbie and Tando, and then Mzala, what are we talking about? Because then the music would interpret for me would be the conversation. This mood, they would ask me, what's the mood for the song? Therefore, we must write based on that mood. So a script writer, right, or if we're talking TV, already has a mood for a scene, right? You as a songwriter or a composer, you need to understand the mood first before you just create a song. And it's important to read the script and check. Okay. This is, if possible, if you are able to read. If it's a film, go through it and then check, okay, this is what the story is about. So that every song that you write, it has a placement within this. Even if it's not the title sequence, but it must have a place somewhere. So if you know that you're talking about SABC1, their target is commercial, urban, but also, so when you're making music for that, there's a certain audience bracket that you're saying, okay, this is the people that I'm making music for. If I'm making a title sequence for a TV show, okay, you check what time is the TV show. So from that you determine, okay, then it's a breakfast show, people want to wake up, you know that then you must create a get up and go kind of song, like something that will make a person say, this is my day. I don't know, you get what I'm saying? It must be like, okay, I'm gonna make it. Like somebody, if they listening to that jingle, they must feel like, okay, it doesn't matter what I went through last night, but today is my day. So that's why, if you can check over 1 million TV shows and check just that word, this is my day, you'll find a lot of TV shows that have had, just have that word, because it's like, you must think about it, what must happen, you must think about your audience, you must think about the mood of the audience you're trying to capture. Yeah. So for me, it's always been about that. I never do anything without thinking about my audience. I never like, even if I'll make an example from a commercial point of view. When we wrote the song by Ntando, Nguwe, Nguwe, Stando, Nguwe. So in my mind, it was like, okay, Ntando, we are turning you into a sex symbol. So it was conscious. It wasn't by mistake. It was conscious. So the idea is that everyone, if he's at a show and he says Nguwe, there must be 2,000 girls saying, "Hey, he's talking to me." Do you understand? And then we ended up even doing that on stage, where he'll sing the song and he'll bring a girl up on stage. So it's all of those things. So it's important to think of the small details when you are creating something, and think of the results, what you want to
make some noise for that, please. Yeah. So Rick Rubin said the audience is second in your artistry. Here, though, where you're making music to solve for a brief, different story. And thank you for clarifying that, because a lot of the time when you live with just the brief and don't use your own, thoughts as far as, okay, what is the audience? Maybe the writer has a specific thing, and then you can also propose, something else as far as just thinking about it in a broader sense. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into being sync ready, from your admin and just getting the music into places beyond DSPs, right? And often beyond even your Instagram. There's so much more to it. Mbali, you spoke about another artist that actually needs to do a touch-up soon, Ukozo, right? You spoke of, there was a commission, you guys spoke and you briefed him and everything. Was there an existing relationship there?
Yeah, there was. We actually went to high school.
Hello?
Hello?
Here we go, we live.
Okay. Yeah, there was. I went to high school with him. So
okay.
I've known him to be someone who's made music for as long as I've known him. Is it on? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes, I went to high school with him. So I've known him to be somebody that, thank you, was making music for as long as I've known him. Yeah. So it was easier to approach him because the story that I was making at the time was about grief, and I just went through his catalog and just kind of got a sense of what he's created in the last couple of years. And then, I just approached him from there. Okay,
so I just wanted to establish that there was some kind of context. Sihle, we met in Durban, at a record. Well, no, we didn't meet at the record shop, but we were shooting something at the record shop. So relationship is important, right? So based on that relationship with Kozo, for emerging musicians hoping to get onto your radar, what's the best way to build a natural long-term relationship with filmmakers instead of just pitching music when they need placements?
Yeah,
maybe go to high school with, or something, I don't know.
What's really funny about this is I feel like I've always been known to be a filmmaker. Even when I was a student, people knew that I was making films. But I don't get artists send me music. I have to seek out music every single time. And it was only like, there was only like one artist like a long time ago who would send me his music every week, and then he kind of just stopped. But I'm not sure what why there's such there's no relationship between emerging musicians and emerging filmmakers. I don't think that emerging musicians think of themselves as like people that are in our world, but they very much are. Like, and so, yeah, I always have to seek out someone, which sucks, because I don't know a person's work ethic. I don't know if they can really produce what I need. I don't 100% know if they have the patience to collaborate. So I think with music, it's so hard. It's so hard to just get the music of your film right. And what makes it really difficult is that everything from the beginning to the end needs to tie in together. Even though there's different feelings and different things that happen, it needs to all still tie together. So it takes very long to build that, you know? I mean, even now with the film I was saying I'm releasing next week, I had to hold off of a premiere for months because the music wasn't right. And it was the first time that I'd ever had to pull out of film festivals because my music wasn't right. And oh my gosh, it was just so hard. I went through like 3 different companies and it's still not right. So it's only on my 4th try that I actually found the right people. But what I think what was missing is a collaborative like synergy between me and someone else. And because I was making a comedy, I couldn't go to the usual jazzy guys that I go to for my music. I need something punchy, pop, like fun, but still South African. And that is very hard to get. It's hard, it takes time, and I don't know if like, I'm really looking for artists that have the patience to collaborate, to like back and forth, but also artists that like that I can be vulnerable with. I can like explain my feeling, my like background, what happened to me when I was writing the scene, you know, and it's just hard to build that intimacy with a collaborator in a short period of time. Another thing that makes it difficult is that because I'm an emerging filmmaker, my budgets are much smaller. So I think people are not as incentivized. And music comes last in post-production. So my budget is fried. By the time I get to music, it's like very little left. And I don't get the sense that there's like an understanding of like in film, it's a process, it takes long, it's a back and forth. Sometimes I think it works, I put it in the edit, it doesn't work alongside everything else. So I would really like to work with artists that are patient and open. And I also just thinking about like themselves as storytellers, as like musicians are storytellers, right? I don't know if they think about themselves in that way, but they are. And yeah, it's a very hard process. I was just very lucky that my main soundtrack was like, I put it in, it worked, it clicked, you know? But yeah, it just took so long with the rest of the music, and yeah, it just made me really think about music differently, like for the first time in my whole career.
You know, just to answer you a little bit based on the first thing you said about it being difficult to find music. The problem with an emerging artist or emerging artists, musicians, if you talk to these guys, right, most of them, their first thought is that I want to be a superstar. Do you understand? Yeah. The mindset is like, I want to be a star. I want to be the next big thing. Yeah. Very few, if not none of them, ever think, I want to make music for TV. like it's very few guys who wake up in the morning and say, I want to make music for TV. That's why people who end up making music for TV are people who are in a state where now they're relaxed, they come, and they've realized that, hey, there's money there.
Yeah.
You understand? Only at that stage, then a lot of people then they gravitate towards film. But most of the musicians, their first thought is that I want to be a superstar, I want to be known by the whole world. But you find, I used to, there's a gentleman who passed away. I used to admire him as, I think his name was Sihle Mthembu or something like that. He used to make music for big, like, Isitingo, whatever. I'd see his name, and I would see that name. I'm like, I'd love that for myself one day. But at the same time, the desire for it is in the back of my mind, because why? I've just done a big hit for Untando. I've just done a big hit for Double HP. You understand? But then I'm not thinking film. But the earlier you get into film, the more the money, you make money early.
Yeah.
Guys, you get into film earlier, I'm telling you, by the time you are 30, 35,
You can make it easy.
you can live the life, you can make music for fun. Because right now, most people are not making music for fun. They're making music so that they can be successful. They can make it and they can be big. So even now, when you make, here's what my I used to have a publisher. He spent years saying, Mjakes, go into film. Years. When I'm talking years, I'm not talking 2 years. I'm talking, it could even be 5 to 10 years, trying to convince me to come into film, right? And I'm like, I'll do it. And he's like, most of you already have the music for TV, but you don't know it. It's just that you have not packaged it as such. You have not sat with your music and say, I like this piano riff. Let me put it aside, make a 1 minute of it, a 30-second of this piano riff, and put it aside and package it. I like the beat for this song. Okay, this song, no one is interested in this beat. How can I make use of it? You can still make use of it in TV, because TV is more open to music than commercial. Because commercial, they'll tell you, no, that's not a hit. It's not hot. But TV can feel like, that's why for the longest time growing up, we'd see people like dancing, but you're like, this song is whack. This song is whack, it's whack. But TV could accept it. You understand what I'm saying? So once you package your music well, you package it well, and you talk to a publisher, and you say, I've created this is the kind of music I have, 200 pieces of music, right? And I've created bits and pieces and separates for it. He can package it, and you can have a library of Mapiano, right? A Mapiano library. Anyone who wants Mapiano, they know that, okay, here is a Mapiano library. And they know they can find all kinds of Mapiano in this library, and your music gets used. Do you understand? I don't even get what I'm saying. You don't have a hit, but you are having music that's making you money. So if you package your music well, separate it, cut it into bits and pieces, so that you have a 2-minute sec. Some of it you do this, you mute a certain part and just leave a hanging voice at the end. Those kind of things, and then you give it to find a good publisher and give it to a publisher, and you know that stuff is what will make you money for your entire life. Because remember, 10 years from now, they'll be making a movie about 2025. Guess what kind of music they'll need? 3-step, Mapiano. So, which means your library can still work 10 years later, 10 years from now, because they are trying to capture an era. And that era, you've created music for it. You keep on creating music and package it well and put it properly. Yeah, so.
Can I just add on to that?
Please, yeah.
Actually, definitely everything that you said is spectacular. I wish I could put it on a loudspeaker and just blast it onto traffic that's driving. But it's like a lot of black artists are not a part of this value chain. Like, white artists make so much money from like commercials, just because it's like someone's friend who makes beats on the side, and then an agency producer's like, they can do it, and they just let them do it, and they can work back and forth with them to change it, to twist it, to do whatever. But when it's like the black artists, it's like quiet, nobody knows them. Like, even when I do pitches in commercials, it's like they always ask me, who are the cool, like, young people that are making like cool music, alternative music, and like the search is so deep. Like, I have to work so hard to get that person in, and sometimes it's like they don't know that person as like a brand, or like that person doesn't have a good personal brand, for example. They don't go with that person. They'll go with some, white guy that's like, they know is regular, can produce it. But I think another really good like thing that I think artists should be doing is sending their music to post houses. So production companies that cut and edit. That's a place where you can start, even if you don't have a publisher. Just package your music into amapiano, whatever sound that you do, and just go on Google, post-production facilities near me, and then just start shooting emails. Like, find out who are the guys that work there. Like, that's easy to do. Like, and then suddenly you're being pulled in, and also just a sentiment of like, you can generate like passive income is so true, because sometimes they decide that they want to run an ad, for example, that maybe was popular last year, but it's a bit boring because people have seen it, so maybe let's change the music. And then suddenly there's the need for music, and then they can add your track, and then maybe they do 3 months, and then in 3 months' time they're like, let's do 6. Suddenly you're getting paid 9 months worth of money because they're renewing it on air. So it's just like, there's so much money in like film and TV that artists can make, that black artists can make, that they just not privy to at all, because I guess they're not coming to things like this and having these conversations.
Yes, sir.
To add to what Mbali is saying, there's so many ways to get your work out there. Post houses, 100% agree. Actually, we're having that same conversation, right? Where a lot of the time, especially in the telenovela drama space, you are up against the knife to meet the deadline the whole time. So you'll find that the music choices are actually made by editors. So if I'm an editor and I know Uti Ulwansta has his catalog up on a site like Lalela, I'm just going to use my friend's music. And it's going to go through the process, right? So building that kind of relationship with people who edit and the post-production houses is so important, because they are the first people, the first curators that will pitch your music to whoever. And sometimes they'll fight, to keep the music in there. They'll say, no, if you put another song, this cut is not going to work. It's going to change the feel or whatever it is. So it's such an important thing. And the other part of it is that, so right now I'm working on a biopic, which is like about a musical band from the 90s. And we're having this conversation because, even with the broadcaster, the first thing, even before they pitched the project, they said, can you clear this music? So, we had to go through the whole process of making sure that everywhere we know where the music rights were before we could even engage with them about saying, okay, this is what the concept, this is what the story is. And I kind of understood where they came from, because they said, working with South African artists, clearing music and getting the right people that have the rights, and knowing who owns what percentage of what song is such a mission. If you guys handle that part, we can run with the project. So we had to go through all of those steps to make sure that we actually, have all of that information in hand before we even got to pitching the show, because the music is such a central part of the show. And the last thing that just also adds to Jake's point is alternates, alts of your song. Sometimes you guys make songs, you make one song, that's the final version of the song. But sometimes you need an alternative version of the song. You need an upbeat version of the song, which is like up tempo. You need an instrumental. Sometimes you need vocals. I worked for a very long time in radio, and we would do promos, right? So promos is like where you have the DJ, like a snippet of a conversation that they had on the show, and you have bed music. It was always so hard to find South African songs that had that, where I could use South African songs for promos and that kind of stuff, because you only have one version of your song out that you send us. So if I want to promote something else, I like maybe the lyrics of the song, I don't have an alternative take of the song that I can use. And the international artists, I always make the example of 50 Shades of Grey came out, I think 2015, 2016. If you watch the trailer for that movie, they use a version of Beyonce's Crazy in Love, which is like slowed down, it's very down tempo, the drums are dragging. It's a completely different version to the one that was released 20 years before. But it worked, and it even started to chart on the Billboard charts again because of that movie, because of how they used it, in the sync for that particular trailer. So when you're making your songs, try and think about ways that you can make alternative versions of the song. Because sometimes, Lonster's going to make a highlight video of this, this conversation, and he needs a song that's going to fit that. So you need variation, and also when you're pitching yourself, that's what people want to see. If I didn't know that Lonster could, was interested and could perform with a band, I wasn't gonna hire him to make, a soundtrack for me, because I'm like, this guy just raps. That's all he does, and that's all he's interested in. So when I'm looking for mood music, he's probably not going to be the best person to fit that bill. So try and show you, even in your samples that you send out, show your versatility, and that you can do different things, not just maybe the genre that you're known for.
What a...
You want me to add?
Yes, please.
So from my side, I think I'm just gonna double down on the thing, practically what anyone here can do when they leave here, in terms of how you put yourself in these spaces. So with music for film, one thing that we must realize is they are not all treated equally. So what I always tell people I work with is, you've got library music, which is at the bottom, which is, from my point of view, is the easy access into the industry, because they doesn't need sometimes that relationship that you might have built before. All you need to do is just find a nice library that you can pitch your music to. And what's nice with them, going back to what the team had said about the production companies, libraries already have those relationships with them. So it's almost like you are providing music to an agent who's gonna go and shop it out for you. But they're shopping it out through with everyone. It's not only film. So there's something called microsync. So microsync is, microsync is if you're watching YouTube and those ads that come up after or before, that's regarded as microsync, and they usually use library music there. So going back to what Mbali had said about budgets, so library music is usually accommodating for when there's no budgets or little budgets, because usually it's covered by what's called a blanket license. So what it means is, yes, you're gonna get a very minimal amount upfront from Mbali's budget, but what's nice is each time it airs, now when I say air, I mean it will air on a Monday night, it will repeat tomorrow, it might play a few times maybe during the week, and then there's an omnibus on the weekend. You get paid every time, but you're not being paid by Mbali. You're being paid by Sambro and Capasso. Hence, we were going back to the paperwork and why it's important, because then what the guys do is they submit what's called Q sheets. And those are almost like your tickets to getting paid. So once those are submitted, goes in, Then every time it airs, even if it changes a channel, where it's a SABC 1 show, now it's going to SABC 3 for a repeat, you're still getting paid. Then the next level of that is the commission stuff, where now you have relationships. So sometimes you may not have relationships, but library music may help you to get into rooms where now people are like, who's this guy that's been doing this music? They literally phone the libraries and say, can we try get this guy to come in because we want something commissioned with him. Now you've kind of left, or you've kind of gone through the gatekeeping that's usually there, and you're getting in front. And then the other part of it is what's called trailer music. So trailer music is pinnacle, right at the top. There's usually top money for it. And the reason why there's top money for trailer music is they are called out of context use, meaning that it's not used within the film, it's used as marketing. It's a totally different budget. So if Mbali's budget is used up, the marketing budget is still strong. So you're still getting paid higher amounts. So early this year, something that I figured, which helps you get into trailers, going back to what Sihle was saying about Crazy in Love. People who are in music will know there's a lot of catalogs that are being bought by very big companies. And what they do is they sell not really sell, but they open up those catalogs for people to do covers. So when you approach someone to do a cover, you can literally say, maybe go to a label that you know has got legendary catalogs and say, hey guys, do you mind letting me use some of your catalog? I just wanna trailerize it. And then it's the same song, but you just change the beats and you trailerize it. And then now you've opened up yourselves to the trailer markets, where if someone is looking to do a song and they want a popular music, but they don't want the original version, they're looking for an alternative, you've done a cover of it. So what's nice with the cover is that you're already using a popular song, so you're using that to get ahead. But now what's also grand is you've kind of created a demand for yourself, because now once they know that you do trailer music, then you will always get called in, even not by the production companies, but by the labels themselves, because they're like, this guy knows how to make our catalog move by just doing these things which other people are not doing. So I would say just try and find ways into either getting into library music if you are not yet there. Best way to get into library, go into Capeso's website, search for Capeso rate card. Very last page, it's all the music libraries there with the contact numbers. You can call them, maybe go to their website, see what type of music they make, and see if within that music, is there something that you could add that maybe not there already? Because usually that's what makes you get in. If you can come there and say, oh, I went through your catalog, I see you've got Amapiano, but do you know 3-step? Then you send them 3-step, because their chances are they've been looking for 3-step in their catalog. And then, as I think I had mentioned with the trailers, that with trailers you really need to explore the different sounds, but also use popular music. But it's just that with the rights, you can't just grab anyone's music, because you're gonna get the content ID takedowns. So hence, best thing, call the labels, ask them, guys, do you have a catalog that's open for covers or sampling or whatever, because they are looking for people to use these songs. So that's what you do, and that's how you set yourself up. And then lastly, I think it's something that was mentioned earlier, the timing in terms of how fast-paced it is, but also timing in a sense that in music, it's a hurry up and wait game, where you might be pushed to submit. Now don't go and phone with Sihle and Mbali every time, say, when is that song coming on? Because there's certain processes that it needs to go into. So I think one of the things that I always use is, no news is good news. If someone hasn't said to you, I'm not using this song, it means it's still in their archives or it's still sitting there. So don't say, it's been 2 months, I haven't heard anything. Keep sending music. Even if it's a year, chances are they see your email, they're putting it in a special folder to say, when I have a project that I'm going to use this music for, that's where I'm gonna go to. So the timing comes in that front where you're not rushing to get placements, but rather use the time to push your music in and sit back and wait and do more music. So you write, submit, forget, repeat.
So can I say something to that? I think one of the music is a global thing, right? We listen to music from all over the world as we're in this room. You don't have to work with Sihle Mbali only. For example, so there's a musician friend of mine. He reached out to the Kenyan Film Commission because the Kenyan Film Commission does a program where they basically do like made-for-TV films. So they'll do like a training program. Mbali and I will come in and submit our scripts as first-time filmmakers. And he basically, as a South African, he reached out to them and said, "Hey, I really want to be part of this program. I can compose music for all of these films, and you guys can give me like a rate, you know, to do these 5 or 6 films." So that does two things, right? Obviously, you're building the relationship. 2, you're building the relationship with the filmmakers, not just the commission itself, but you're also gaining a lot of experience because you're working on different types of projects. So that kind of initiative and kind of thinking outside of the box is something that we need a little bit more of in terms of identifying opportunities that allow you to keep working. And if you're working with, for instance, like a Kenyan Film Commission, now you learn about sort of their copyright laws or their music licensing laws. So it expands sort of your information base and the things that you know beyond just what's happening here in South Africa. Second thing, guys, please mix your music properly. Please mix your music properly, because it's when the editor drops that music on the timeline in Premiere Pro, that's the start of the process. That's not the end. That thing still needs to be mixed by, you know, whoever is doing the mixing for the show. But then for the broadcaster, it needs to pass QC, which is like quality control. I've had instances where they've rejected, like, the song is not mixed properly. So now you can't broadcast the show because the song is not mixed. You just have to now just find something that you can chuck in, and it kills the feel of a show or an episode or a segment, because the music that was put in, although the song was great, it was not mixed properly. So those kinds of things, it's little details like that are the difference between your song getting on a platform and people never working with you again.
Make some noise for these panelists, please. So look, I'm really glad we recorded this, because I didn't hear a word. All I had was money in my ears. Right? So I hope you guys will listen, because we're going to open up for questions. I'm going to take 3 questions. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've already seen 3 questions go up. I mean, hands go up already.
Okay, wait. Who were the hands again?
One here in the front.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks guys for the panel. It was amazing. I have a question for Mbali. You mentioned that it took you a long time to go away from commercial music and actually get into sync. I want to know, what did your friend tell you that made you realize that it was the right move to make? Because I work at a music publisher right now, and I work with artists and composers who have had a lot of success in commercial music, but us trying to build a music library obviously requires them to change their mindset and get into that type of music. So yeah, what type of convincing can I use to get them into that?
Yeah, one, the first thing you tell them, there's money in TV music. Everyone wants money. Remember, with the system now, you get a song in, it plays on the show, it plays on the omnibus, it plays on, so the usage of the song becomes more and more and more, and music being played on TV pays way more, right? So, and the thing is that the challenge is that sometimes people think that they need to sit and create music for TV. You don't necessarily sit and create music for TV. You just take your music that you've made already and cut it up and adapt it for TV and put it in a way that, and put it in catalogs. Categorize it and say, sad music. Then you create a set music folder. Then you know that, hey, all the set songs, you put them in that folder. All the set songs, you cut them in ways that make sense. Like you know that, okay, it's gotta be, if it's just a short scene, you know that I have a small part. Some of it, you know that you don't want a hard ending. You just have a mellow ending, you just mute whatever, and it ends with a piano or whatever. The music that you have can be good enough for TV already. It's just, as Sihle said, you must mix it well, and then cut it up nicely, categorize it. Like imagine if I make time, proper time, right? And sit with the music that I've been making for an entire 30 years. Can you imagine the kind of catalog, kind of library I would have? I would have music for, I'll make an example. One of the first songs I made was Smuma Lawyer. Ne? I don't know, okay, none of you will know this song. I'm a lawyer, about boom teto. You understand? There are a few people who will know it. Your parents know it, right? I take music from that era. I can categorize music through eras. Kwaito era. I've been through the Kwaito era. I've been through the dance era, the DJ Spoo era. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you take the music that you have, and they tell them that they don't need to sit and create new music. They just need to categorize it, clean it up, and find good, make relationships with editors. And it's not even a difficult thing. You just look at the credits. Some of those people, you see them there. Some of the companies at the end, you know, oh, there's this, okay, there's Bomb, there's what, and then from there you search for Bomb. Where is Bomb? You go there by the door. I've got music to present. Trust me, they won't say, go away, we don't need your music. There's no place where they'll say that. You understand? Because as Mbali was saying, the fact that she continuously needs music and she searches for music, if you say to her, I've got a catalog, and she knows she's working on a film, she will listen to that music and see what is it that I can use here? Is it usable? And if the quality is good, definitely you'll get something in there.
Good evening, everyone. I have a question for Sihle. I hear that you've been... Oh, you said something. I think one of you guys said something about, yes, Andile. Ooh, sorry guys, silly me. So you mentioned something about one stop, right? So when you mentioned something about the amapiano, 3-step, and all the other genres, is it also possible like you to add like a one stop for like a gaming? Like for like gaming, like OST, like official soundtracks. Like let me say for an example, I want to do like 6 soundtracks for an arcade game or maybe an action game. So is it possible like if I can do like one for gaming as well and I can still protect it?
So with the one stop, it's actually per IP, or should I say per song. So if you want to do it per album, because I'm guessing that the official soundtrack will be in an album format. So it will mean that for every track in the album, especially if you're working with multiple composers, where it's not just maybe you and someone else or just you on your own, that means then the one stop will be for each song where you are going in and writing the person that you collaborated with, getting them to sign, because one of the things that makes a one-stop effective is that it's been signed off to show that this person that you are saying has given you the right to speak on their behalf. They've actually acknowledged it. So the best way that I always find to get people to be more willing to do that, make a one-stop mutual thing or a bilateral thing where you have one stop and they have one stop. That's where they don't feel as if you're trying to get things done. So it's like, no, I will clear it, but if someone calls you, you also have a right to clear it because maybe an opportunity may come through you rather than me. So if you are doing soundtracks, then it will mean if you've got 10 songs in your soundtrack, but they are made with different people, then literally you'll have 10 different one-stop forms. But then if it's an album where it's just you and someone else, and all the songs are just you and someone else, then you can group all the songs and make the one-stop for that album become just one document. So it's just a matter of you having something that you can prove to someone who's interested in your music. Because the first thing they're gonna ask you, is this pre-cleared? And that means to people who you've worked with even know that you are making these calls, trying to place it and trying to get sync and shoot. Maybe they place it, they won't get now a Daily Sun article where one of your collaborators is like, I don't know how my song got in there because I never authorized it. So it's things like those, because they won't come to you, they will go directly to the production company that did the film. But meanwhile, you know that I went and submitted the music. So I think just make sure your paperwork is, if it's multiple people, then individually per song. But if you've worked with someone in an album where it's just you guys only, then you can group it as an album. Hope that answers your question. Sorry, which? Capasso, you mean how to find the libraries? Yeah, so this will be Capasso. If you search Capasso rate card, it will actually give you the rate card. So a rate card is what Capasso charges people for licensing music. So that's the upfront fee that they will have to pay. So it doesn't count the royalties that we mentioned about repeats and the usages. So they just, if you go on the website, you can see all the rates they charge, but what's very interesting is the last page, because the last page is like all the big or people that are really pushing in the library music space. So it comes with a number, email address even if you want to go there in person, so you can find it there.
Thank you so much, panelists, for the very insightful talk. I'm sure I don't speak for myself when I say it was incredible. My question relates more to your personal journeys and experiences. So obviously this is not an easy industry to be in, and when you get to the upper echelons it does become more profitable. So the question is more, how have you dealt with the ebbs and the flows, the positives and the challenges? What has kept you going, and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Maybe I'll say something, all right? Most of the time, you meet people who know where the money is, and who know that you don't know where the money is.
Oh, yeah.
And in that instance, you'll find people who know that they will have rights and have a 5-year contract to use something, right? But they can't make that something, right? And then they'll pay you 200 to make it, but they'll sign the 5-year contract for it and make all the money for their entire life, and you are left with the 5. That's part of my personal journey, and I had to grow up and realize, so then the important thing becomes the conversation that you must have in the beginning. Those conversations are very, very important. Like, I know that we have home studios, right? You can go to anybody's place and go make music, and then you leave it there, right? But sometimes you leave it there, but then the person is way smarter than you, and then they use the music without even you knowing that they're using your music. So it's very important to when you leave a studio, when you leave a place of making music, you have some form of agreement. The agreement is that, okay, who owns the music, right? If we co-own it, you make sure that you both know that you co-own the music. But if you don't own it, you know that, okay, you're a session musician. Okay, I'm a session musician. All of those, so that later, when something's successful, you're also not crying. So my personal journey is that, like, keep on knocking at every door. Knock at every door, like, find a use for your music, because if your music is not commercially viable, if it's not a hit, find a place for it. Like, you can use it for something else. You can use it as for ads. There's music that is good for an ad, but it's not a hit. Do you understand what I'm saying? But for an ad, it's got the right elements. You can hear, hey, the groove is kicking. But the chord progression is not kicking for a hit. You understand what I'm saying? But for a commercial, it works. And you might end up making more money for the commercial than the song itself. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So always, okay, one last thing from a music point of view, right? One of the things that we used to do, like, if we're making an album, we would make at least 2 or 3 songs that we know can be used outside being a hit. Like, for instance, you know there's gender-based violence, right? You intentionally make a big gender-based violence song, because you know it can be used for another. I don't know, you get what I'm saying? Like, we would intentionally say, hey, summer is coming. Radio station need a summer song. Like, a couple of years ago, we did a song with these boys called Smile. It was the song was, do you remember what we did last summer? Metro took that song and made it their summer song. Like, they played, do you remember? And then there was this voice, Metro FM, summer with the matter. You understand what I'm saying? Because if it's not a hit, then it must still make money for you. You understand what I'm saying? If you see that I have a song, it sounds like an MTN campaign. You go and pitch it there. Like, okay, this song can work there. Like, think all the time about how can I maximize my music.
Over to me. I would say that it's important as well for us as people who are in the music, especially the creative space, to understand that, yes, you may have talent. Yes, you may be able to be the best performer or the best producer or composer, but especially once you start going into the other revenue streams that exist within music, some of them need you to also invest your time in learning or studying that particular industry. Because I just feel that sometimes people feel the music will just get things done. So yes, the music will get you to the people that it needs you to get you to. But if you don't know the kind of conversations you are supposed to be having, the kind of clearances you are supposed to be bringing up, then you can be taken for a ride. So I would say one of the things I would advise for everyone to do is, after this conversation we've had here, there's probably things that you are now interested in. Go home and study more about them, because you will find yourself in a rabbit hole where now you end up understanding more about the sync game. Because unfortunately, what we know now that we've just spoken about, tomorrow we may wake up and it's completely changed. Because maybe there's a new way that it's being done. AI is here. So even just touching on that, I'll feel that one of the things that I would love to really leave behind is how we need community more now than ever. Meaning that it's good that we have people like Mbali and Sihle who are making these films. And I'll also put a challenge to them to say, in our pursuit to show that human creation beats AI, it would be good to also try and get back to the old ways of syncing music and performers in shows, where they're actually seeing people play this. Because I think one of the biggest things is having to prove that this is made by a human. So if you can show that, oh, this band is playing as a behind a scene of some sort, people will build that or they will believe that these songs are made by humans. So it could be something we could do, because I feel if anyone here is a musician, they wouldn't mind getting 30 seconds of fame on a show, just so they can get their projects moving. So definitely I'll say let's push more on that as well.
Just on that, so in the show that we did, Roomies, we actually did something like that where we had it's like a big flea market scene, and we had a band, which again, relationships, a band that I liked and that I listened to, play some of the music in the background of the scene. So definitely I agree. I mean, sort of bringing the music to life in more than just as background music is a really interesting and powerful way to tell stories, because you're telling something about the environments that people are in. I think for me, my journey has been quite, interesting, because I studied journalism, I went into radio, I produced radio shows, then I'm self-taught in terms of writing and film production. So I think as a necessity, I've always tried to find information. And that's always something that I encourage people to do, to say, if you don't know what you don't know. So just be as curious as possible and try and find out about different things. And you don't know when things are going to become important to you. I didn't know when I was working in radio, doing cue sheets and learning about, how to license music and summer and all of these things, that those things will become important later on when I'm a producer and I'm trying to pitch a show and the broadcaster is asking me, hey, do you have the rights to this music? So I think for me that's, stay curious and just learn as much as possible. And I think the other very difficult thing, like for instance, I know Mbali, I know Togozo, we're all filmmakers here. As creatives, generally, we don't move as a unit. So if the three of us, we know we're making movies, and we know we're all struggling with music, what are we saying to each other to say, okay, let's actually, do a call out to say, guys, send us music. We struggle alone. Mbali's going to struggle alone. Meanwhile, I know 10 people in this room that can make music for her. So those kinds of things, and I think it's not a sector specific thing. It's a thing that happens across different sectors. If every artist in this room did, their one stop, and you all guys said, okay, we have a catalog of all of our music and we're giving it to Andile to go and pitch. That's a powerful thing, because now all of a sudden, when I'm a broadcaster and I'm a filmmaker, I'm not dealing with each of you on an individual basis. I'm dealing with 1,000 people. I'm dealing with 1,000 songs. I know that I've got a lot of options. So that kind of difficulty in working together and getting people to agree on a set of values and how you're going to approach things is one thing that I always feel like is a gap. And that's why a lot of these things we don't know, we don't have the information, because we don't know how to talk to each other about these things.
Mic drop moment.
I don't even know what to say. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to answer that. I just think for me, like the problems that I've had in film were around access, money, and like collaborating, and I've solved those problems by being a multi-hyphenate filmmaker. So I don't just do film, I work in TV commercials. I don't just direct films, I also work as a film curator, so I work with film festivals. So I'm constantly placing myself at every part of the chain, the beginning in pre-production through TV commercials, the middle through production, and the end through film curation. I've just had to adapt, because it's really hard to make it as a filmmaker. So I would encourage the musicians and the artists to do the same. Nobody's coming to save you. So just invest in yourself. Be curious about other things that you can do that can take you further as a musician. So for me, it's just I'm constantly thinking about what are the things that I can dedicate my time to that can feed my end goal, which is just film directing only. But I'm doing all these things along the way because I know that they're getting me there. And quite literally, they are getting me there. And then the other thing about legacy, I'm so young, I don't know about that yet. But I think for the next 10 years, I definitely want to I want to be able to like be a filmmaker who created, who brought up a generation of filmmakers with me, like through film curation, but also through filmmaking. I work with a lot of my peers, and if I have an opportunity to work on something big, I always try to like bring them with me. I just really love like community-centered work and like growing together in community, and I think that's like a big part of me as a creative. And like for the foreseeable future, I just want to take like African films to the world. Like that's my purpose. That's what I want to be able to do, and I'm focusing on.
Before it's a sync industry, before it's a film industry, before it's a music industry, it's a human business. It's a human business. It's all about humanity at the end of the day. These are humans on this stage. You know, these people you need to be afraid of. So, you know, LinkedIn, this room right now, you know, you use this curiosity. No pressure, guys. No pressure. If someone comes to ask you a question, you know, just give us that hour. Guys, make some noise for our incredible panelists. Mjakes Thebe, Andile Magwaza, Mbali Mashaba, Sihle Mthembu. And this was your weekly touch-up, week 124. Let's touch base.
Pretty nice.
Yeah. So, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much. What we're going to do, we're going to direct our attention to what we actually built this thing off, and this is the music. So get your beverage, your non-alcoholic beverage over at the bar, and we'll meet you outside and let you know what's happening next. Dango!